our mission too. I mean, it's to create a new belief system about what it means to be healthy. And I am a living proof, like change can happen.
Welcome to the show where we help you make smart nutrition simple. If you want proven nutrition strategies to help you build a better body and create the energy to show up for your family without overly restrictive and unrealistic dieting, then you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and enjoy this episode. Mrs. Kristina Brown, welcome to the Smart Nutrition Made Simple show. What are we at? I don't know, 6-7 years of having the podcast, going on 4 years of working together in our coaching business. I think it was about time to have you on the show. And so welcome, honey.
Well, thanks for having me. This is fun. Even though we just have like a wall between us, this is awesome.
Yeah, I can hear you outside of the computer. Serious question to kick things off. How many episodes of the podcast have you actually listened to?
I listened to like a part of all of them, especially the bro sessions.
So basically just the intro.
Yeah, usually.
Very nice. That's
Of
okay.
All 230 plus,
250. I think this might be episode 254 or 255. So, we're only gaining steam.
Yeah, we are. Maybe I'll listen to more than 18 minutes. Just kidding.
I think, well, this one will be relevant. But listen, for those of you listening, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to tune in for another episode. I'm excited to be able to share this one with you of all episodes, because I think that my lovely wife, Kristina here, has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience that she can glean. And you guys know, for those of you that have listened to other episodes, for those of you that have been along for the whole ride, even if you're just tuning in for the first time, you should know that our whole mission is to make nutrition and fitness as easy and applicable and sustainable as possible. And that really comes down to just real world practices and real world application. And so much of the stuff, as I've been iterating on in previous episodes, has to do with shiny objects and quick fixes and fads. And at the end of the day, it's really about just the day-to-day structure and strategies and experiences that we can infuse into our busy lifestyles that are going to actually move the needle. And so that's where I think, Kristina, you have had a lot of experience, both, one in the trenches of just doing this yourself, having had 3 kids, also having a unique perspective of being married to an uber neurotic nutritionist and fitness coach for close to 16 years now. Or 17 years?
He's 17.
So I think you've got a unique perspective. And so I'm excited to be able to share that with our listeners. So thanks for jumping on with us.
Well, thanks. And I think one of the, our mission too, I mean, is to create a new belief system about what it means to be healthy. And I am a living proof, like change can happen and creating something new can happen. And it's neat to be in the shoes to be able to do that, but then to have all these experts around me, you, our team, watching our clients, and be part of that journey myself and everyone else's.
Yeah, I mean, you've absolutely, learned and figured out how to put things into practice. And we're all going through our own journeys, and it's exciting to see. But let's give people some context to understand like what that's looked like for you. So let's take a step back. Give us just a little bit of background around, who you are, where you grew up, kind of sports. What does life look like pre me, I suppose?
All right, backing up. So Kristina was Kristina Ravenkamp, pre Ben Brown, and I'm an athlete. I was an athlete. I was a college athlete. I played, through high school. I was female athlete of the year, 3 sports, varsity lettered. I loved to move and got multiple opportunities to take scholarships out of high school for soccer and volleyball, and decided to go play volleyball through college, played at Cal Poly, and I trained. I always had a coach.
What do you
Uh,
think? What were the qualities that made you a good athlete growing up?
I was open to learn. I uh, I think I was coachable. And I knew I didn't have all the answers. But I think coachable was one of them. And so my coach could tell me, like, these are the skills within that skill. And then could practice. I could just keep showing up and practicing. Um, and I wanted it. Like, it was something I really wanted, and I enjoyed doing it. And I was never burnt out. And I think it was in a team setting too. Also, I think I work better with other people, not an individualist where just leave me alone and
No,
let me
you're
practice.
definitely the penultimate extrovert. Um, Definitely kind of pumped up by being around other people.
Hmm.
You're an excellent communicator. You're enthusiastic. You empower other people, and so I can see how that would absolutely and you're the hub of our coaching business in terms of nurturing our existing clientele and kind of supporting our clients in everything that has to do with not the one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
love it. And I think that's what, you know, I was successful in sports when 15, 17, 19, 20. And then I come to the end of volleyball and I only knew sports. I've always only had a coach and we trained 3 to 6 hours a day. We got like a $20 per diem. And let me tell you, I would spend all $20, like McDonald's 20-piece meal, 20-piece McNugget, go and get like a hamburger at In-N-Out all in one meal. Like I would figure out how. So I had no eating habits, moved a lot, trained hard, and was an athlete, loved just moving. And so after college, you know, going into the real world, I don't think as an athlete we're never taught skills to like be without a coach. What are our goals? Like, what do we train when we're not training for a sport? And so I didn't have that. I went into work and I was a really good worker. I worked hard and put everything into work, met you. And through our journey, work, children, I've always, I kept doing what I knew, right? I was a hard worker. I've raised children. I volunteer my time, but then I stopped putting effort into this and I didn't really have any goals. I wasn't training for anything. I didn't have a coach to help me get to that next version of Kristina.
what was kind of the transition that you experienced between, because you were always in good shape.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously in college when we met, you were in fantastic shape. You'd kind of just stopped playing volleyball, and through our youth, leading up to our first kid, Zoe, you were in great shape. And then even,
I played sand too. Remember, I played
that's
sand
right,
volleyball through having Caleb. So that's on the
right.
third kid.
So you were always competing.
Mhm.
Fitness was there.
Yeah.
Obviously, nutrition was there to some degree by virtue of me and
Hmm.
kind of me reinforcing some healthy eating principles in the house. How did your kind of perspective of nutrition and fitness shift throughout having, three kids? Because there were times when you were in great shape, times when you weren't in great shape,
Yeah.
like times when you were prioritizing yourself, times when you weren't. Like, what did
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, so it was like this. I think my 20s, I just rode my youth. Like I rode the work that I already did, so I was in good shape. I
You could
rode
get
that
away with
wave.
a lot more.
Yeah, like I could eat whatever I want. Trained. I didn't really even train. Like I just kind of walked, moved, practiced, went out on the sand court and played a
Yeah.
little. And so I think in my 20s, I rode that wave. But then it started changing, like late 20s, early 30s, you get into your 30s, and that changed. I started adding weight on. It's like little by little, it's like, oh, 5 pounds here, 10 pounds here, no big deal. And never, once a year, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go on this bar thing. And I remember you'd roll your eyes. I'm going to, I'm going to restrict this. I'm not going to eat any sugar for a week. And that lasted like 3 days. And I tried all the, did all the restrictive stuff, nothing too crazy. But then as into my late 30s after Caleb, I was a big girl. I was over 200 pounds. And so I wasn't the same person. And
Why? Like what was changing and why was it changing?
well, I mean, it could be for the way I looked, the way I felt inside, a little bit of both. I was thicker. I had inflammation on me. I didn't have, I think I was more anxious. I had,
But like with your
yeah.
career, with lifestyle, like I think it's easy to see how people can get lost down
Mhm.
the road of, work and family and just the constant
Yeah.
need to feel like you have to give, give, give in all of these other areas. And it
Mhm.
felt to me like, that's what was happening with you to the degree that you stopped playing sand volleyball. Um, right. We're just
Yeah.
kind of
And
in
yeah,
that
you're
funk.
right. Yeah. And so I stopped playing, and I volunteered, everything for the children. And I made that my mission. And I never put myself in that mission. I remember like, I'd say yes to everything. Oh, we are in need of this. Sure, I'll do it. I always raised my hand and said yes. And I still to this day still say yes, but strategically now because I've learned certain things to do that. But so I was always saying yes and just finding a way to get it done. And sometimes that meant jeopardizing sleep, any time to like focus on eating anything decent. There was a period of time where I would like go to Cane's at like 11 p.m. at night after work, like often. And
Yeah.
I was mindlessly eating, just putting food in my mouth, just no intention. It was like there was nothing. There was just like, oh, I got to feed myself. Whatever's there, I'll take. But there was zero art to it. And I think that's where I started. And this is in like 30s. And now I'm the example of our children. But I also not only was it eating, but I was also drinking, like not like an alcoholic, but I'm going to be honest, like I utilized alcohol quite a bit. And it was like, oh, it's 11 o'clock during COVID. I think we all were, but it's like, oh,
Right.
let's have a vodka lemonade poolside, go, but at night, maybe it's like, oh, let's have a glass of wine. Those things added up. And so between mindless eating, drinking multiple times a week. Now I'm just going to say on the weekends. I think it was like throughout the week and then on the weekends, it consumed us.
No, I think alcohol played a large part of our youth. We talked about
Yeah.
this recently of just, and I mentioned it before on the show of how, and even like most recently,
Hmm.
this, we just celebrated my 45th birthday, but I think it was the first birthday that I've celebrated since I was, I don't know, maybe, 18 or,
Yeah.
or even potentially younger, that alcohol wasn't at the cornerstone of
Hmm.
the celebration. And there's no alcohol. There's not even really much of a thought of alcohol, which was really nice to experience. With that said, yeah, like alcohol played a big role, unfortunately, in our youth
Yeah.
and in how we coped and stress management, so to
Yeah.
speak, and kind of why, we had a harder time getting in good shape. You especially, where did things start to turn for you?
Well, it was, I'm going to say my late 30s. So like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I started noticing it. Like something's got to change. Nothing changed right away. Um, I would still go out for, after work for fast food restaurants. Like these were just normal habits I was used to. And it was really bizarre that looking back on it, that it was something fast food, alcohol. I would stay up so late. Like you and the kids would go to bed. And I'm like, oh, this is my time. I earn this time. And I'd watch a show, I'd eat a bowl of cereal and have like a beer. Like, or some nights it would be a bowl of ice cream. Like, I think I can't even imagine. I'm like eating over 1,000 calories, but I
Yeah.
earned that time. And I remember like thinking, did I really earn this time? Like, this is taking away from my sleep. What am I putting in my body prior to bed? But at that moment, I wasn't thinking this. I was like, this is my time and this is what I earned. So things shifted. I will say like at the end of our 30s and
I mean, was it before COVID? Was it
before.
right? It was before COVID that
Yeah.
you started to
Yeah.
prioritize yourself.
Yep. And there's a handful of things, I saw, I think what it was is like, for me, the beginning of my journey, I think I focused on all the things I didn't want. Like,
Mm.
oh, you know what? It's like, I want to age with my health and I know what I don't want. Like I don't want to be immobile. I don't want to be obese. I don't want to have health issues where I'm constantly lined up at the doctors. I want to be like I don't want my kids to see me just sitting there. Like there was all these don'ts and I think that started me. Um, and actually I will say there was one like moment I remember I was picking up the kids and I was picking the kids from school, and this was during COVID, and I had this water bottle in the car, and it was an aha for me because Zoe like gets in the car. She's like, "Hey, mom." She gets in the car and she goes down to like drink my hydro flask, and right before she goes, "Wait, is there alcohol in this?" And I was like,
Mm.
and I just remember thinking, "Are you kidding me? It's like 3 o'clock. Is that her view of me? Her view of me is like, oh, my mom's always drinking. She's always got something in her drink. And it really made me have like an aha moment, like something's got to change. And so it wasn't overnight, but intentionally, I started making sure I wasn't consistently drinking. And over time, I mean, between you and me, like your conversations with me, it's like I needed a coach. And so I got a coach. I hired
Well, yeah,
Tyler.
because obviously you weren't gonna listen to me, and anyone who's
No,
married knows how that works. Like you
yeah,
don't coach your significant other, and
yeah,
obviously you guys know I'm a huge advocate of having coaches in all areas of your life where you want to improve, and so we naturally set you up with Coach Joey. Well,
naturally.
you had a coach prior, actually.
Prior, yeah, I had
Yeah.
Tyler
Yep, you had Coach
through
Tyler, who's
Cashy.
been on the show. That's right, through Trevor Cashy
Yeah,
Nutrition, and you started to get good results.
yeah. And looking back, I think there was just a period of, 10 years where I actually just, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a team like in my health world where it was helping me towards my goals. Business wise, sure, you have a team of employees, but for my own personal goals, like I didn't have that. And those were things that were like a pillar to my success when I was younger as an athlete. But I think athletes are always athletes. So now I just had to instill that back into my life. And with knowing, like having you, and you've always been that example to us. Like you've always been the pillar of an example for health, wellness choices in our household. Like I think about like I was sometimes a shitty saboteur. Like I was a really crappy partner. You would be like doing a fast or something. I remember this vividly. And you were doing something like a cleanse, you were doing something. And I full on went to Sonic, got a root beer float, came home and sat next to you and ate it and was like, gosh, this is so good. And I'm thinking, what a dick I am, right?
Well,
So
I think, yeah, I mean, that's fair. You were quite a dick.
that was so mean.
But,
Sorry.
it speaks to um, potential like resentment that
Yeah.
can be created when one person is trying to make change and the other person feels threatened by the change that, their significant other, their partner, their dear friends, someone in their community, a family member is making.
Yeah. Well, and that was 100%. I always was resentful that, oh, you're going to go to the gym. Oh, you're going to work out. Oh, that must be nice to have a dinner right there ready. Like little snotty little comments. And it was like, you had to work just as hard to make that happen as I did. And I just chose not to. I chose not to make it a priority. I chose to put a million other things in front of it. Looking back now, I had the time. I just didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the wisdom. I didn't know what it felt like to feel good. And so I think that's where it was easier for me just to be like a saboteur to you. Misery loves company.
That's right.
That,
And
yeah.
I think it forces us, like when someone else is doing something that we know is probably the right thing or something that's good for them or kind of challenges our belief system, right? Around, oh, well, it forces me to look in the mirror and acknowledge that the things that I'm doing right now are probably not the best. And that's really hard to admit and
Mhm.
acknowledge to the
Yeah.
degree that it's not uncommon for people to create resistance and pushback and sabotage, whether knowingly or unknowingly.
Right.
And I think that happens a lot in relationships, and we have those conversations a lot with clients around one of the most important aspects of someone's success or the biggest drivers of their lack of success is their social support. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that's that significant other, their
Mhm.
family dynamic, people they hang around with at home, to the degree that if you're making all these changes and the other person isn't on board as much as they love you,
Mhm.
it's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah. Yep. So it's hard for you. I'm sorry. But you know what? Like I look back and I think uh like what a different person I am, and how making change in my health has not only for my own for my own personal worth, but it's improved our partnership, us being parents, like the fact that we're on the same level now, we're on the same playing field. Like, we support each other. And I don't look at like now it's so nice. Like it's like, oh no, you need to go to the gym. So like times when you try to get out of it, I was like, no, get your butt in the gym. That
Right.
was never me. That was not. I was
Right.
like, oh yeah, let's sit down and watch a movie. Yeah, that'd be nice. You want me to pour us a glass of wine? That'd be perfect. Such a nice night.
When you first started getting coached,
Hmm.
what were the biggest ahas for you around, when things started to make change, like what became transparent? What were you doing that was, the biggest needle mover?
Yeah. I think, I mean, in the beginning, it was just building awareness. Tyler had me doing very similar, like tracking my food, just understanding what I'm eating. Um, and not really, there was no workout component to it. It was really just being aware of my food. And so I was starting to track my food. And so it's like that statement, that quote, energy flows where your attention goes. And, and I just started paying attention, and I started realizing like my nighttime routine sucked. Like it was, that's where I was overeating. I wasn't getting the sleep I should be getting. Um, just staying up, whether it was watching a show or scrolling. But then as I started to prioritize my nighttime routine, that there started making a big game changer. Um, and then of course, like just understanding, I think the second you start tracking your food, it's like you realize, well, that's probably not the smartest choice. It's like when we do our budget and
Yeah,
we all of a sudden see how much we're spending, and we're like, wait a second, how many subscriptions do we have? We don't need that.
right.
It just started building awareness, and that's what it helped me in with the food. Like, and I think just building the skills around what does a nighttime routine look like? What does eating throughout the day look like? And it was more habit based. I wasn't like working on hitting macros, or was definitely like a calorie awareness, but at that point, increasing protein in the beginning. And I had some really good results. Like I think I dropped like 20 pounds with working on my nighttime routine and sticking within a calorie window.
Yeah, you dropped weight pretty quickly. I think you were, above 200 and what, like
Yeah.
20 pounds in maybe 6 months or so.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from there, it's, ebb and flowed. And then Joey and I started working together, and we've been together working together for about 3 years now. And like I'm better with a coach. And I've realized that, like, even if I'm working on maintaining, like, I'm just better with a coach. It's good to have, somebody helping me with my programming, just keeping an eye on what I'm like, what my goals are right now. Am I hitting them? And prioritizing those. But over the years, I wasn't always losing weight. There's times like I would lose weight, and there's times where I would be in more of a strength training. I think you guys we call it performance. Then there's times where I would be in maintenance. And so I had different phases along those times. But even if I wasn't working on in a deficit, you're always working towards something, because it's easy to have like the efforts and be like, oh, I'm just going to eat this. And there's definitely times where I wasn't always tracking. But I really built some great habits where it's like every meal has protein. Start my morning with protein. Make sure, like, a non-negotiable is like I walk, I get my steps in. And then and I was not, and I'm going to be honest, I was not a strength trainer. I was an active athlete. I was not. And so as I actually started strength training, I'm going to say it was like 2 years ago, but consistently over the past year, I've been showing up in the gym more than my entire life as an athlete. So
what's been the biggest mindset shift for you that's relevant, for our listeners?
okay.
And I think it's relevant for both men and women, but especially women, and around the way that you think about the value of strength training and that kind of the changes that you've observed by virtue of that focus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, body composition in general, is changing. Like, not everything is just, I feel stronger. And so then now I feel like, I was telling somebody this the other day, like in the beginning of one of like the thrust exercise, the hip thrust, I would put 90 pounds on there. And so that's 145 plate on each side. And I thought I was a strong girl. I was like, oh yeah. And I felt like that was pretty good. So there it is. I feel good. I put a limit. There it is. My cap is on. I'm just doing my 90 pounds on my hip thrust, which is a lot, I think, but I'm also built like a man. I'm like 6 feet. So I'm not putting 10 pounds on there. And so I'm like, yes, 90 pounds.
Well, just because you're 6 feet, for clarity here, just because you're 6 feet does not mean you're built like a man.
Okay, true.
Thank you.
So, but now I've realized that there's more I'm capable of. So it's like, take the lid off and see what's possible.
So do you feel like you weren't pushing yourself hard enough?
Yeah, no, it's just like, oh, this is fine. There was no challenge. It was just the motion. And so that was like with all of my exercises. And then now I've realized that there's so much more possibility. And I saw one of my workout friends in the gym, and she put on 4 plates on either side. She's smaller than me, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, 4 plates on either side. She's a beast. And it made me think bigger. It made me think differently. And now all of a sudden, like, the cap is off and you just keep adding plates. And that over the past year I've been doing. So from a year ago when I was doing 90 pounds on the hip thrust, now I'm doing 230 pounds on the hip thrust. And it's just, the next week I'll think, like, can I add 5 pounds on either side? Some weeks I'm not going to be able to do it, but most weeks I keep progressing. And so just changing that mind.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this conversation briefly with an exciting announcement. If you're a father and struggling to lose the pounds that have crept on over the years, I understand your challenge. You're juggling a successful career, a loving family, and now you're looking to regain that energy and physique that seems to have slipped away. And that's exactly why I created Prime Fit Operating System. Prime Fit OS is a unique hybrid coaching program designed specifically for men like you. Now, you guys know me, we're not about quick fixes or impossible routines. Instead, we focus on real sustainable change through personalized nutrition and science-driven strength training, all wrapped up in a supportive community with expert guidance directly from me and my 20 years of experience working with men just like you. Imagine mastering your nutrition without restrictive dieting, getting stronger and leaner, and boosting your overall energy, all without overwhelming your already busy schedule. With Prime Fit OS, you're getting more than just a cookie cutter nutrition and fitness plan. You're embarking on a transformative journey that fits into your life, not the other way around. So, if you're ready to take the first step towards a healthier, leaner, stronger, more energetic, confident, ass-kicking you, join us over at Prime Fit Operating System. Trust me, guys, your family, your career, and most importantly, you will thank you for it. So if you guys are interested in getting started and want to find out more about the program, let's chat. Just head over to primefitos.com/call and grab a time on my calendar. Remember, it's your time to be at your prime. I think that's, so powerful when you see, like you said, what's possible, when you see someone else that's doing something that you didn't think or even consider that you could do.
Yeah.
Right. We see it financially, we see it in fitness and health and performance. And it's like the 4-minute mile of once it was broken.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there were tons of people that were breaking it. But do you see this, when you're observing other people in the gym? Because this is a really hard conversation that we have with clients around truly understanding what it means to actually challenge themselves in the gym versus what you were doing is like, I think, I feel like I'm pushing myself. I feel like it's good enough. I feel like I'm strong, right? But not really realizing what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And what do you observe, in the gym?
A lot of showing up, and a lot of just doing the movements. And I think, and it's awesome because then I don't know, I also now feel like it's a little bit of my responsibility in there to support other women, other people in there. It's like, that looks easy for you. And I'm like, you'd be surprised if you put 5 pounds on there. And it's just seeing like, okay, what's available? Like, what are we able to do? Because I think that's why we go to a gym. It's like who you surround yourself by to get you to that next level. And so now it's fun because now to some of these ladies, I'm like, you could do more than 8 pounds.
And now you started challenging all of them. They stopped showing up. Real nice.
I'm
Or the
scared
gym's
away.
really pleased.
No.
You're turning away members.
But it's fun.
So over the past couple months, you've really started to, like, you've obviously been making progress and as you stipulated, you've been getting stronger in the gym and weight necessarily hasn't really changed. Body composition's changing, but, I think we both can agree there were times when you certainly could be more strict. What are you doing now that's making a difference, and why do you think it's making a difference?
There's a handful of things. And I didn't really touch on the fact one of the biggest skills I learned was time management to help me to be able to get to where I am right now and to help me keep progressing. I've become a master of my calendar. Joey's helped me with that, and just other self-development has helped me, but master my calendar and realize how valuable my time is. So now I'm blocking. I block my calendar by the hour, by the 20 minutes, just depends on what it is. But on my calendar now, I have my workouts. I have my breakfast, lunch, and dinner because those are important to me. I want to make sure I eat and fuel my body. And if I have to go on walks, like I put those in because those are time. It's not just like free time and I'll get to it when I get to it. They're important to me. So I've made the things that are important to me, which is my health, which is my goals. And the things that allow me to get to reach those goals need to be on my calendar. So I started focusing on time. That was a skill I learned a couple years back, and it's helped a lot with everything because not only do we, run the business, the kids schedule, I volunteer, and I just don't want my workouts never to not be my priority. So they go on my schedule. That's number one. But and you asked like, what's kind of my game plan for the next?
Yeah, like what are you doing differently now versus say 6 months ago? And how are things changing now by virtue of what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I have been at the same weight, um, same body composition for over a year, and I feel great. But I know that there's more to me, and I know I have body fat to lose. And it's always funny when you post like, "Oh, I'm, working on a goal." Everyone posts, "Oh, you're beautiful inside and out. You've always been beautiful." I'm like, it's not about that. This is about my goal. Like, I want to accomplish something. And I have the ability, I know I have the ability to. It's not, I do have weight to lose. I have some body fat and I can get stronger, which is so cool. I'm 43 and this is what I want. So I committed to like another deficit. So Joey and I are working on through October, which prior to our event, which will be fun.
But let's talk about this real quick because you said you committed to another deficit, but isn't the same deficit that you've technically been in for an extended period of time?
Okay, yes, I've been at like 1,620 calories for a long time. But let's just be honest. I was overeating probably by like 400 calories. I was sitting in maintenance for over a year, eating around 2,100, which is why I wasn't gaining weight, but I wasn't losing weight.
What were the main obstacles that were getting in the path of you?
Snacking. I was a snacker. I'm not a snacker. I realized after committing, like I'm not a snacker, which is really cool to stop these like little statements. Like I used to be, oh, I don't go to bed early. Oh, I don't like to eat breakfast. Like all these things I used to say I was. It's really neat to like cross them off your list and not be that person anymore and be open to what's possible. So I am now, I'm not a snacker because I used to snack a lot. And I eat 4 solid meals. Like I'll eat dinner at breakfast. I'll eat breakfast at lunch. It doesn't matter. They're all kind of in place. And so I am now eating to an actual deficit, the 1,610 calories, 170 grams of protein, I think 150 carbs and 55 fat. So I'm actually hitting not just calories, but my macros, my protein,
It's what we
carbohydrates,
call
and
it's called a full macro distribution. So you're adhering as closely as possible to all of those numbers.
closely. It's sexy. I am like hitting them. I am like,
Yes, it is. In
it's so
fact, it
good.
is. It is, but it's more exciting. Like it's cool just because finally you're realizing the power of having structure and consistency and discipline and the power of planning and preparation and what actually happens when you give yourself the opportunity to hit those numbers,
Yeah.
right? You're seeing because there have been times in the past where you're like, nothing's happening and
Mhm.
I'm eating well and all of this. I'm like, well, ask your coach because are you hitting your calories
And
and
Joey would be
are
like,
you
"Are
doing it
you?"
consistently even on the weekends and prompting all of these questions, which of course you and I now can look back and laugh at
Totally.
because obviously you weren't.
No.
Now that you are, what's happening?
Yeah, I'm like losing. Well, right now it's coming off quickly. Like I'm losing half a pound a day right now. So um,
I mean, yeah, just like the past couple weeks, but
yeah, I know that'll slow down. But my goal, Joey and I set a goal of losing 10 pounds before October. So our goal was like a pound a week. And right now, as we can see, which is really neat, like it's coming off quicker. So maybe we don't have to be as aggressive, but I don't feel like I'm not starving. I'm eating full meals. Like I'm eating 140 grams of chicken and potatoes and spinach, and it's delicious. It actually is so, and it's nice to eat real meals. I'm not using like a protein shake as one meal, not consistently. So I'm actually putting like 4 solid meals in, and I feel really good. So even though I'm in this deficit, it seems to be pretty aggressive right now. It doesn't feel awful, but I think it'll be neat over time where we can kind of test and see if I can add, can I keep dropping at about a pound a week, but increase 200 calories? And that's 1,800
yeah.
calories is still a deficit for me. And then will that bring my maintenance up to like 2,200 calories? neat to experience that and to then have that data and to have that knowledge now that I am capable of following through with what I said I'm going to do. That's one of the biggest things is like sometimes like, and I see it with our clients, like we go into in myself, like we go through this plateau. It's like we did it. We worked on this after 8 months. We're in a plateau. I'm just not motivated. Oh, I don't know why I'm not showing up, but I I think for me, like when that happens to me, like, oh, why am I not hitting my calories? Or why am I just snacking? Why am I not tracking on the weekends? It was me not following through with what I said I want to do. That's for me. And that's been one of my biggest goals because I follow through for everyone else, for everyone else. But when it came down to my goals, and so that's been one of the big things I'm working. If I say I'm going to do it, I don't want to make excuses on why I'm not feeling up to doing it. It's like yes or no. Did I do it? Yes or no. And so my biggest goal is to follow through with the things I say I'm going to do. And it's working. It's helping.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't want
doing
to give
amazing.
thanks.
It's been really fun for me to watch your evolution. And I think it's cool, especially because again, coming back to the fact that, you're being coached with our coaching system, but you also have a, insider look at the process and you hear me talking about it every single day. So I think it I think the big picture makes more sense to you than necessarily it does for both someone that's already in our program and certainly someone that isn't yet in our program or considering our program or is just doing this on their own or with another, coaching program. But
Right.
at the end of the day, what I think is so cool to share is how long this kind of evolution has progressed and the different stages of learning and acceptance and different layers of challenge that you've experienced. Like we've had plenty of just real life stuff between
Mhm.
kids and holidays and travel and family, circumstances, right? To the degree that it's how do I balance all of those things while continuing to prioritize myself? And now you're equipped with this whole new skill set,
Mhm.
coupled with the fact that you have this incredible burning desire to continue to want to get better,
Mhm.
which is the most important facet of someone that says that they want to make change or someone that's going to make change is you're not going to be motivated all the time,
Mhm.
right? There's going to be plenty of challenges along the way, but you have to maintain that burning desire to want to continue to get better. And I think it goes back to like all of the women commenting on your Facebook posts of like, you're beautiful just the way you are. You don't need to lose weight, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
You know, it's not about me not accepting myself for who I am right now. It's about the fact that I want to continue to improve.
Correct.
So, what would you say to people listening that might be frustrated with where they are in their health journey, may not have gotten results that they are happy with, may not be getting results. They may have been burned by programs. They may have been lost in the fad dieting yo-yo cycle. There's plenty of women whom you associate with that and in our community and
Yeah.
everywhere that are constantly lost in this battle of never feeling good enough, never feeling confident enough, always going from one diet to the next. Like woman to woman, what are what would you say to them?
I personally would say hire a coach. Don't do this alone. There's something about having a real professional there that can actually help guide you and teach you the skills, um, whether it's nighttime routine, um, eating protein at every meal, just these skills that we think we don't even realize that we needed to have. Um, and and to figure out what your goals actually are. I think, and that when you have them, finding these goals it's like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to get healthy. It's kind of vague. And it's like, actually, what do you really want? And then break it down backwards and go, okay, so this means, maybe it's 10 pounds, maybe it's 100 pounds. Like we've seen all different levels of goals in our business. But personally, I think getting a coach, knowing what you want, and then knowing that you got to show up to put action into what you want. It's not just always going to be the same. So like from the beginning, the habits and the work I did 3 years ago is not the work I'm doing now. Like you do have to have more detail and you get better along the way. And once you feel really good, you realize what you're capable of. And I want, especially ladies, to know how that you are stronger than you think you are. You can lift 50 pounds. You can lift 100 pounds.
You don't have to be relegated to the little pink dumbbells
No,
or doing low
no,
weight and high reps. And
strong women are sexy. And especially as we age, and I've learned from you and all of the other experts that we've interviewed, it's like, as a woman, perimenopause, like pre-menopause, like we need to build muscle now. So there's not just one answer on what, for somebody to make change, but you got to know what you want. And I think now from when I started, my reason why was I knew what I didn't want. But now over time, I've realized what I do want. And now I get to just focus on all the things I do want.
where are you
Oh,
going from here? Like, what's next? Because you're making great progress. So, what do you want?
I want to be able to do a pull up unassisted.
Hell yeah.
And that is a big deal. So it's going to take me time. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's a really cool thing to work towards. But, and knowing how much stronger I'm going to be when I'm 60, when I'm 70. Uh, but I think it's knowing that these small little changes add up, really do. And you hear this all the time, but as Americans or as humans, I don't know, we are just, it's like, well, why didn't it happen? It's 3 months. Why am I not seeing this massive change?
Yeah.
Don't like we just need to keep working. I think I say this to a lot of people. It's like, well, if you're not going to focus on, like, if you're done working with us, or if you're done doing this process, well, what's next? Like, what are you going to work on next? And it's like, oh, well, I might learn carnivore diet, or I might go vegan. Like, there's all these like little things. And I'm like, wait, why are you going to learn something new like that when you just keep working on what the skills you've learned? They compound over time.
Yeah. Right. And
And
that's the most important thing is, you said the beginning around our mission is to help change the belief system around what it means to be healthy. And in and of itself, it means to give yourself permission to stop focusing on the short-term quick fix, uh, you know, plans and empty
Mhm.
promises of diets that are promising to help you lose X amount in a relatively short amount of time. Because as you've shared, this is, and just because it's taken you, you know, 3 years, 4 years, and is continuing to be a journey that you're on, doesn't mean that weight won't come off faster, things won't progress faster. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's an ongoing evolution.
Mhm.
And that is the belief system. That is the thought process around how to get lean, get healthy, make change in your life, change your identity, actually become the type of person that you envision yourself. Like when you say, what do I want? Well, I want to be someone who can do a pull up,
Yeah.
multiple pull ups. I want to be someone who's, 6 years old and is freaking strong and is setting a great example and is
Mhm.
training every day and is playing with my grandkids and, all of the stuff that we talk about, right? To the degree that you're not going to get there by continuing to do silly short term
Yeah.
things.
Or nothing at all.
or nothing at all, or something for a few months and then stopping and
Yeah.
starting again the next week or the next year. And so it's fun to see, and for me to have a front row seat to, the changes that you're making. I'm obviously very proud of you.
Thanks. Thanks for being my
And
example.
well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So leading by example for my family, leading by example for my community. For those of you guys listening, hopefully you can glean some wisdom from these conversations. Anything else you want to share before I let you go?
Hmm. Well, I do also think reflecting is a big, I'm kind of going backwards on one of another skill. Um, Reflecting, like I call it film review.
Mm.
Like Kobe Bryant, like
Hmm.
you have like you look at like your day, um, and you figure out what is like the one thing I need to work on tomorrow that I can get better at. And so that's been also a really nice thing. Every night I plan like what I'm eating the next day, make sure I, move things in my calendar, meetings, workout times to make it actually realistic. And so that is I call it film review. I think that's what athletes call it when they look back at their game and they're like, oh, that's the shot I need to practice this week. And then
Yep.
they don't practice all the things that they're super good at. They practice the thing that one skill that week, and it might be that just one shot, and they do it 1,000 times. It's repetition. And so I think I've become really good at film review for my personal life, for like eating, weight training, my meetings for, work wise or for in the volunteer world. Um, it's been a big skill that I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge component of us actually getting better, is acknowledging the things that have worked and haven't worked
Mhm.
in the past and the things that keep coming up. What are the habits and behaviors that are continuing to that we need to reinforce, that we're not quite there yet, that are influencing or negatively influencing the decisions that we make, so
Mhm.
that we can actually um, get better.
Yeah, I
And
love our Sunday check-in.
mhm,
Some people find them like boring and they're like, oh, the same questions. But I find that those are actually they're the only questions I need every week to think about what's happening next week. And what do we ask? It's like, what were your wins? What did you struggle at? Do you have any questions? And then how do you feel? And then it was, what are you working on?
but it
And
takes
what
concerted effort. It takes work, and it takes a few moments of concerted time to
Mhm.
reflect and actually acknowledge. And that's, as humans, we don't want to think about things that we know we didn't do well or didn't go our way. And those are the most important components, which is why the check-in process is so important for us in our business, is to give our clients the opportunity to reflect and
Yeah.
to acknowledge those things, so that we as the coaches can then help them develop a plan of attack so that they can start to become proficient in the areas that they're not. We call those their blind spots. And by identifying your blind spots, shining light on them, and giving you the tools to, once you see them, then it's no longer a blind spot, and you
Mhm.
can take concerted action towards making positive change. And that's how we get better, slowly and surely over time, and how you become a different person. So
Yeah.
good
Well,
call.
I love it. I love the coaching process. I like being a client too that can give my coach real data. Um, Being genuinely honest with what I'm eating, pictures, measurements, videos to my training so he actually sees my intensity. So I feel like also I'm doing my part as a client, fully equipping Coach Joey so he can be the best coach for me as well. So I
Yeah.
like that feeling. And those were the feelings back when I was in college. So I have a coach. It's like, all right, this is why, you practice stuff blocking or see slides, because your coach looks at you and says, you're crushing that.
Hmm. Well, you are crushing,
Thanks.
and we're all proud of you, excited to see you continue to progress,
Yeah, I can't wait to show you all
and
my pull-ups. I'm there.
making my life that much easier in the kitchen as well.
Yeah.
And of
It's not
course,
that hard though, I'll be honest. Like what
it's
we
not hard.
prep on Sunday,
It's not
bulk
hard.
prep.
We're
And
on the same page.
yeah,
I mean, to be fair, our kids have been gone for a couple weeks at camp and with in-laws and
yeah.
parents and what have you. So there's definitely something to be said about those of you that are childless right now. And certainly, I don't want to hear any excuses on your end as to why you can't plan and prepare. Because man, is it easy once
Much
those
easier.
kids are out of the house. So things will get more challenging here once the kids get back here in a few days. But excited to continue doing this with you.
Yeah, me too.
And thanks for sharing that with our
Thanks.
community. We'll jump on again now that you're a seasoned vet.
Third time's a charm. Thanks.
All
Thanks for
right,
having me.
babe.
Love this.
Yep. Love it. Love you. Talk to you later. Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this content valuable, here are 4 ways I can help you in your nutrition journey for free. 1. Grab a free copy of my Fat Loss Fix Guide at fatlossfixguide.com. 2. Join my free group at smartnutritionmadesimple.com. 3. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at smartnutritionmadesimpletv.com. 4. Leave a 5-star rating and positive review so that we can gain access to more nutrition experts ready to share their knowledge with you and ultimately help more people make smart nutrition simple.